This is a review on one of the display options you have for your Saturn V rocket. One of the best Lego pieces sets ever made by Lego. I just think it is wonderful for any age. It's fun to build. Gets a little repetitious, but the building techniques are so unique and so much fun to build. I don't think there's anyone who would enjoy building this set. One of the big, or if the only flaw, is the display given. Having it lay sideways on the little blue stands is a real disappointment. Takes up a huge footprint on wherever you're trying to display it. And it just is so disappointing, or it's such a letdown on such a wonderful kit. And that being really the only way you can display it. If you just stand it on its own on the engines, it's so precarious, so easy to fall over. This tower was created by a couple of people, and Lego turned it down, not wanting to build it as a Lego creator kit. But to do it on your own would be so prohibitively expensive. We're talking $800 or $900 to purchase all these pieces on Bricklink, and that's even if they make all the colors. I don't even know if all the pieces are, they make that many pieces in dark red. I really don't know. I haven't investigated. I just know it would be so expensive. So I did do the cardinal sin of buying cheap Chinese Lego. I can't even call it Lego. Cheap Chinese building bricks. And it was, if memory hits me correct, about $360, sounds right, which is, a good chunk of change, but it's not ridiculous, and it makes it affordable to actually do, at least for my situation. The problem is, it is cheap Chinese building blocks. It is true crap. But when it's all done, it looks fantastic. So I'll give you a little review of what it was like to build it. Number one, you do have to do the original sin of Craggle. You have to glue. There just is no other choice. I was building this on my kitchen table, and once it got up to about half height, I decided, let's move this down to where I'm going to keep it. And carrying it down, it just literally fell to pieces in my hands. And it took me a long time to figure out what went where, because it just completely collapsed. I didn't drop it, I didn't tip it, I didn't do anything. The action of motion, it just completely collapsed into a huge mess. And that was a great disappointment and a real pain in the rear to put all back together. The base is a place where you have to glue. You have no choice. The top plates here, they will not go. There's plates on it, and these tiles go on top of the plates, and they will not catch. They will not latch onto it whatsoever. And it's just as if you were laying it on a flat table. It just completely no clutch factor whatsoever. And you'll end up having all the various little tiles. There's the biggest one, looks like it's about, what is that, 16 by 10? I don't know about that side. That one there is the largest one, but you can see there's lots of small ones, and none of them clutch. They just sit on top, and it's ridiculous. So I had to glue them down with super glue, and it's so poorly aligned, the pieces are so poorly made, that I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. I had to put it on the floor, just the top, not the entire thing. I had to just the plate and the tiles, put it on the floor and stand on it. And I stood on it for 20 minutes, so the crazy glue would really, cure. And it's so hard to see in in the video, but they're not flat. They're still not flat. Even though I put 200 pounds of pressure on it, they're still not flat. Also, the quality of the tiles are terrible. You can see, I hope you can see with the video, the discoloration, the lack of uniformity in the colors of the tiles. Also, the structure of the entire base was so poorly designed that I had to use other Lego pieces to put strengthening pillars all throughout. So I think I added 10 stacks of Lego pieces inside. Otherwise, the entire thing would just, there was nothing. It was like the outside had support, and then there were like, I can't remember, 4 vertical stacks of bricks to support the rest of it. And it wasn't anywhere near enough. I ended up putting 10 more stacks of bricks to support that top base plate. And it worked once I did that, but without it, it would have been ridiculous. The tower itself, oh my gosh, was that a frustrating build. The pieces don't fit. Let's see if I can zoom in here really carefully. These pieces right here has the rod, I guess you would call it, go into these, and you can't do it. It just doesn't fit. So I had to take sandpaper and sand the ends of each of them in order for them to actually get into that. So there's a lot of them. I mean, you're just looking at 2 sides of them. And there's a lot of those little buggers. And every single one of them had to be sanded. And that's not the worst of it. The absolute worst was the pipes that come down along the sides. They're secured to the side with these Technic bricks here. And I don't care what you do, they cannot be slid into it. You absolutely can't do it. And it also comes into these here, because it also has, let's see if I can, okay, I have to do a weird angle to show you this, but on the bottom there's 2 really long yellow Technic rods here, and these have to go through them to hold them, to brace them together, and they cannot fit. They will not go in, period. No matter how hard you try, it will not go through. So I had to very carefully with pliers hold the pieces still. These pieces, these Technic pieces, hey, see, that still doesn't latch. I had to glue that one too. These pieces here, I would have to put in hold them with a pair of pliers and drill them open. There's just no other way for them to go in. So I'd have to drill them open, and then they were loose, so I then had to glue those as well. Some of the pieces are, well, it's just physics here, you know, this will not stay at a proper angle. I might get a little shim there or something to wedge that up to try to keep that so it's level. And the arm where the crew service compartment, where you got these little guys in here, this is where they come in and they get into the capsule right there. I don't know what to do about it. It sags, and it just goes down below it. You can kind of prop it up a little bit there, but it's still not all the way up to the capsule. It's kind of on the service module, but that's the closest you can get. I'm thinking maybe I can get a piece of fishing line or something and tie it up to that or something to try to bring it up here, but it just won't go all the way up. So yes, it is cheap Chinese building blocks. It is horrible quality. It is an incredibly frustrating build. But would I recommend it? Yes, I would. I know that goes against everything I just said about the product, about the quality, but compared to laying down on a 4 little pieces of blue Lego, this display looks so much better. So once it is all glued together, it is cheap garbage. You're never going to disassemble it and use it to build something else, unlike other Lego where you can take apart it and piece it out and build other projects. You'll never do this. It's cheap building blocks. I keep trying to say Lego. I keep trying to stop myself from saying Lego. They're cheap building blocks. You would never mix them in with your real Lego. You would never build anything else with this garbage. So go ahead and glue it because it's never going to be anything else. It's never going to be done with another project. So there really is no negative for just gluing the crap out of this thing and making it stay and secure. It still tips a little bit forward. Even after I did all the gluing, it still leans a little forward, but it's fairly secure. I don't even want to wiggle it that much. It still scares me. Even though I've glued so much of it, I still wouldn't want to wiggle it too much. But for the overall display, it does look really, really nice. And it does justice to such a wonderful, artful piece of Lego that yes, I would recommend it. It is, oh my gosh, saying it's good is wrong, but saying the display is great is right. So if you have the Saturn V rocket and you're not happy with it laying it down on its side or the precariousness of it standing on its own, using fishing line or something to secure it so it doesn't fall over, this really does make a wonderful display. So yes, I would recommend it, and just man up through the build, get it done, and then enjoy it once it's done.